Right, mate? How are
How
you?
are we doing? Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
Not a problem, mate. Not a problem. How's your day been?
Yeah, not too bad. Been in the clinic today. Had a few clients. Been looking forward to this massively all day, though. How about yourself?
I've lost my job today. It sounds
Fuck.
grim, but it's not. So I worked for a company called Kimberly Clark's for the last 10 years. And they've decided to make us all redundant because the government have decided so Kimberly Clark's own Huggies, Andrex and Kleenex.
Right.
And because we make wet wipes, they've decided that the government are putting a ban on plastics. And Kimberly Clark's have decided to move shop. So we're out of a job. It's been there 40 odd years. And,
No
and
way.
yeah. And do you know what? I could look at it one of two ways. It's a really good job, really high paid job. 2 minutes from my house. I could be sad. I could feel a bit pissed off, but like we spoke last week, I'm doing this level 7,
Yeah.
and I believe this is giving me an opportunity to do something that I'd love to do in the future.
Yeah.
So it's just giving me that drive, that incentive to carry on with what I'm doing and succeed inevitably.
Perfect, mate. Absolutely perfect. I mean, first of all, I'm sorry you've lost your job, but you've got it right there. You can't control the things that happen to you in life,
No.
but you can 100% control how you react to things. And that is perfect. It's what I call a reframe. So you've taken some bad news there and spun it, because you can find a positive in everything. And,
Yeah.
You probably look back on this one day and think, what a blessing, because it made me push forward quickly with my mental health work, the stuff that you're probably supposed to be doing, mate, after all.
I think so. I think I've found the purpose to my life. I think I've found the meaning of what it is to be Lee. Like we spoke of when we first started speaking, I spent 20 years in a cocaine addiction, and I wasn't happy with my life. From the hedonistic point of view, everything was sunshine and rainbows.
Of course, yeah.
But when the reality was, no, I didn't. How could I love the world? How could I love the things in it when I didn't love myself? And that's what I've gone on this journey of finding is self-love, external validation was a big thing in my life for a long time. Now it's validated by inner self, inner power, inner thoughts, inner values, inner beliefs, whatever you want to call it. And it's really, it's beautiful. This year's been the hardest year of my life, mate, but it's been the most beautiful and empowering year of my life. I've met people and through these types of conversations that I would never have spoke to in my entire life if I'd have carried on living the way that I was, and for that alone, I'm thankful and grateful. It brings me on to you, mate. I was told to get in touch with you by our friend Wayne.
Yeah. What a guy. Yeah. Wayne, he's a great lad, isn't he?
Yeah, he seems it, mate. He's very, very happy, very go-lucky type guy. I like him, man. He's cool. He's got his own his own look going. He's very unique in his own little way, and I like him. I like people who are unique. I don't like to fit the narrative with everything. I like people who've got their own directions and want to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, well, he came on my radar because of the work he was doing with knife crime. And that's something that I'm really interested in as well. It's really widespread across the country, but Bristol's got an issue with it at the moment. And because of the work I do on the self-defense and martial arts side as well, for whatever reason, be it the Facebook algorithm or whatever, but he turned up on my feed and I had a look at it and we got chatting and just really appreciated how honest and passionate he was about a subject that he didn't really have to get involved with, but he's driven it. Yeah. And he's got so much exposure for such a good cause. I doff my hat to him. He's a great lad.
Yeah, and that's it, mate. And this is so. My motto for this podcast is the power of conversation. And again, you would have never got in touch with him, or vice versa, if we were just living the addictive lifestyle, as I'll call it, for the sake of the conversation. But what today is about for me, mate, is I want to get to know who you are, know your story, know, more importantly, what I find with people, especially in addiction, is that we talk about the problem a lot. We don't talk about the solution. We always talk about the issues around the lives that we lived in the past, which is fine, right? But then you get into the rumination aspect of things, where you start ruminating and you start inevitably reliving the moments of the past, which then become your future. That's how I see it. So what I like to do is I would like to, just go through the individual's life, hearing the stories, but most powerful story for anybody listening, the most powerful bit of it needs to be how we rectify our issues moving forward, and more importantly, how do we sustain this, this standard of life. So, and then we can talk martial arts for the last bit. That's no problem.
Okay. I'll hold you to that.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, if you want to take it away, mate, and, tell me where you're from, where you grew up, what your hobbies were, and we'll go with the flow, man.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem, totally. So I guess the first thing for me to say is that I'm an alcoholic. I'm in recovery, and I'll be in recovery for the rest of my life. As you well know, addiction isn't something that gets cured. I have a daily reprieve based on my spiritual condition. If I'm looking after myself, then I've got a good chance of having a sober day. If I allow any kind of irritations or resentments or hate into my day, there's a very good chance that over a period of time that will accumulate and lead to me taking a drink, taking a drug again. I'll never want to do that again, because, well, I'll go back to the start of this. So I'm originally from the Lake District, but I've been in Bristol for 25, 26 years now, but I've hopefully managed to keep a northern accent and not pick up the local. But yeah. So spent as a kid, I spent a few years sort of living next to and in a pub, and I used to see these guys getting drunk, and they were gregarious. They're having a laugh, and it looked like they were playing cards and playing pool and gambling, and just looked like they were having the best time. It really did. And I used to look at them and think, yeah, I want a bit of that. I was only a kid, but I just think, yeah, I want a bit of that. They look really happy. And I used to do the bottling up in the pub. I used to get the bottles in the morning and fill the fridge. And that's when I had my first drink. I think I was 9 years old, and I stole a bottle of, can't remember what it was, something like Baby Sham, something like that. Or, yeah, something like that. And I thought, yeah, this is all right. This will do me. And I started drinking from a very young age. I remember when my friends started drinking, 14, 15, 16, I was already I could tell I was much further down the line than them in terms of how much I could drink and how much I wanted to drink. And it just escalated from there. I just didn't stop until I got into rehab and recovery many years later. I guess the bottom line is that I just loved being pissed. I just loved drinking. I just loved the feeling it gave me. Gave me a lot of things that were missing from me. Gave me confidence. I know now that was a false confidence. It allowed me to speak to people. It allowed me to fit in groups, talk to girls, just have a bit more personality. And don't get me wrong, for a lot of years, Lee, I had a great time. I had a ball, my 20s, 30s, and for part of my 40s, I was having a fantastic time. But what I didn't realise at the time is that I was drinking alcoholically. I wasn't drinking to have a good time. And I took it too far. And it got to the stage, because this is a progressive illness, particularly for somebody like me with a particular kind of dopamine reward system that I have. I get lit up really quickly, but that fades really quickly. So I have to take another hit of whatever that is really quickly. It's just out of control. It just ran away with me. And it ran and it ran and it ran to the point that I wasn't enjoying drinking anymore. I was I was just absolutely shot. You know, I had everything. I had absolutely everything. Beautiful wife, beautiful son, big house, big job, big car. On paper, absolutely everything that you could wish for. Like anybody looking at the outside will look at my life and think, he's doing great. He's got it absolutely sorted. But there was something missing. There was something missing. And that wasn't anyone else's fault. That was something inside me. And I know now, through recovery and from doing work on spirituality, that what that is some people call it a God-shaped hole. Some people call it a spiritual hole. There was something missing for me within myself that I was trying to replace with a substance, whether it be cocaine, weed, drink, whatever it was. But ultimately, I was just running. I was running from something. I was running from whatever it was, facing up to the truth that I was the problem. It took me a long time to work that out, and it wasn't until I had to sort of finally surrender and admit that I couldn't stop drinking. I remember sitting in my garden in 2017, something like that, and I just knew. I was a few bottles of red wine deep at the time, and I just knew I was done. But I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop drinking. I couldn't put the bottle down. I describe myself as a bit of a coward with the drink because I didn't have the strength to not drink the next day. So from quite early on, I couldn't handle the anxiety and I couldn't handle the hangovers. And I worked out pretty quickly that if I took another drink the next day, then it's game on. Didn't have any anxiety. I was okay. And this, you know, it just progresses. It went from drinking on the weekend to drinking every night through the week to having to take a drink in the morning in order to get to work. And I spent quite a few years masking this and hiding that. And fuck me, man, the energy that went into hiding and being a functional alcoholic was exhausting. And I say to people now when I'm coaching them, if you could put the same effort, time and energy into your sobriety that you did to getting a hit, getting a fix, then you're going to be okay. So yeah, we got to the stage where I was drinking like round the clock, 24/7. And it ended up with me sort of not being forced, but going into rehab in 2017, and so I sort my business out really. But it
went to the Priory, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and it.
I went there as well. That's where I went.
The Bristol one.
No, Manchester.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I tell you what, I was thinking about this the other day because I put a social media post out about it. The people that work in these places, they're incredible, aren't they? They're just what I call earth angels. The way they took me in without any judgment and just sort of nourished me back to life over a month was absolutely incredible. I'm forever grateful to those people. It's unbelievable.
Just one thing you mentioned there is that you were doing it to fill gaps.
Yeah.
And obviously you found a sense of spirituality now. And I always thought that I wasn't a spiritual person, right? I always thought spirituality and religion were the same thing.
Okay.
But so the guy who's mentoring me now, he's a psychologist from South Africa, and he does a lot. You'll know what it is. He does a lot of neurolinguistics. We found through the work that we've done together, we found my purpose. And it turns out I'm incredibly spiritual. I just didn't realize.
Beautiful. We all get there in the end.
Yeah.
Mate.
Yeah. And I guess, so I'll tell you a bit about my background. So I spent 20 years in addiction, tried to take my own life a couple of years ago when you were the rock bottom. Don't like using that word, but that's, for the sake of the conversation, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Ruined my life multiple times. I had the same as what you did. I had this very showmanship lifestyle. If you looked at it on social media, big going on holiday, nice car, nice houses, married, 2 kids, all this. But deep down, I was screaming. I was screaming that I just couldn't bear the thought of living with myself every day. I call it the mirror of 1,000 faces, where you've got to have a different fucking face on and it gives me goosebumps talking about it now, where you've got to have this different face on every day, but this face is never yours. It's never yours to begin with. And to show your face would to show this vulnerable life, this vulnerable side of who I am, which would then, as a man, I'm 6'6", 20 odd stone. And I just think, men, you shouldn't show this vulnerable side of you. Bollocks. It's the worst thing that I ever did, because are you familiar with Gabor Mate's work?
Yeah, I love the guy. Yeah.
Unbelievable. So I just want to go back to what you said initially, around the addiction, that we will always be an addict. I read this book called Rational Recovery.
Yeah.
And it's quite negative towards other recovery services, which I'm not. I'm not an advocate for any program as such. I'm an advocate for recovery. Recovery is recovery. However the fuck you get there, let's get there. So I started reading this book called Rational Recovery. And what I did, I created a character for my addictive voice. And that character turns out to be Voldemort. I mentioned it last week on a podcast. So every time I feel as though my addiction is speaking to me, I picture Voldemort dying on the train station. So, and I've tested this and it's proven, because I've been around people who've used since, and I've no urge whatsoever. So when we say we'll always be an addict, I totally understand what you're saying. But through me and the sort of this process of elimination with the Voldemort thing, it's sort of a really quick defense mechanism for me to go, no, Voldemort. So even though right now the thoughts of using cocaine are in my head, but I know I will never use, just because I've got that defense mechanism there. But so, I mean, if you've never read it, it's a really great book. Rational Recovery, it's called. It's from a guy in the 90s. And what it does is it just gives that bit more of a sense of security around whenever there is a threat of using, maybe for somebody. It just I instantly go Voldemort, straight away, Voldemort. And it just, boom, it's gone. And then I recognize it, understand what it is, because like Gabor Mate says, addiction is a psychological and emotional response to human suffering. That quote changed my life. It really did, because I had a difficult childhood, really difficult childhood. Well, I say really difficult. Comparisons, right? It's nonsense to compare, but my mother was extremely violent towards me. My father was never around. So I had emotional abandonment from my father. I had this violence from my mother. Even though she didn't hate me, she loves me. That's how she parented. She parented with physical violence. And it wasn't just a smack around the face. It was, some serious damage went on sometimes. And I grew up a very insecure, nervous kid. But I've always been I'm artistic. I was good at sports. And it was just, I couldn't regulate myself. I didn't understand when certain emotions came up. I didn't know how to deal with them. Yeah. And then as soon as somebody handed me cocaine, it was like, wow, this is just filling gaps, like you just said. And I've filled those gaps with love this year, man. And it's been beautiful. And I guess my question to you is, do you believe that there was trauma behind your addiction? There was some sort of inability to regulate emotional state?
Yeah, I mean, this is a massive question, and I think statistically, if you look at anecdotally, if you speak to most addicts, whatever that may be, drugs, drink, sex, gambling, this is a trauma response.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we experience trauma in life, this is the way I describe it to clients, a little piece of us breaks off and it gets stuck in a timeline. And say, for example, if you had a traumatic experience when you were 8, that bit of trauma stays as an 8-year-old child. So a lot of the therapy work we do, we go back and we talk to the 8-year-old kid. We go back, use hypnotherapy for this, it's really powerful. Go back, see yourself, you say, what do you want to say to that kid? Very often, people find this extremely emotional. And they visualize going across and giving their 8-year-old self a cuddle, and it's just beautiful.
Done it.
You've done it, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, yeah.
I stood on a stage in front of, you heard of Tom Blackledge from Wigan? No. Ex-UFC fighter. I went to an event with him. Again, I've spoke about this multiple times. I went to an event with him and stood on a stage in front of about 400 people, and I dropped down to my knees after doing this mindfulness and meditation work, and it was, I can't describe the feeling that I came out of there with. It was, I give my 12-year-old self a hug.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's life-changing as well.
I get emotional thinking about it now because...
Yeah, I can see, mate, yeah.
Again, I've spoken about it a lot, but what I'm trying to do now, I'm trying to sit with my emotions more and trying to understand them. This feels different. I told it to the guy who's mentoring me a couple of months ago, and I broke down crying, and that's on a podcast. I was crying my eyes out. And I feel there's a warmth around it when I speak now. There's a warmth around the conversation, it's not said with sadness, it's said with love and kindness and wholeheartedness. And when I give him a hug, man, I ended up in my childhood bedroom, and the posters were on the walls. I could see the DVDs, I could see my PlayStation 1 that I used to play. Yeah. And I remember hugging him, and he put his arms around me, and I can just remember saying to myself, I've got you.
Beautiful.
I'll look after you.
Absolutely beautiful. Isn't it powerful? Unbelievable. And I think this, I've heard it said that we grow into the adult that would have protected you as a child. But absolutely. It takes a lot of growth to get there. It takes a lot of emotional maturity. It takes a lot of courage to heal that trauma. And in the meantime, in that sort of gap in the middle between you being a child, experiencing the trauma, doing the work and coming out the other side, there's this grey area where your head and this trauma, it's the inner child is just shouting, I'm not happy. I need to be soothed. And it doesn't know how to say it. Your inner child doesn't know how to say that. It's just noise in your head. And you'll find with most addicts, they're taking a drink, a drug, a hit, whatever it may be, and they find that substance is the only thing that quiets their mind. And I tell you what, that was 100% my experience. The only thing that shut my brain up ever was to take a drink.
So the way I look at it now is I always use the word chaos. Yeah. Whenever I'd use or drink, it'd be chaos. Yeah. But the more I'm learning, so I'm doing a level 7 at the moment in addiction and trauma psychology. And I'm loving it. I've learned about attachment theory, mirror neurons in the brain. I can describe the process of a neuron now under the influence of cocaine. I'd have never been able to do that 12 months ago. But I'm loving it. This year, NLP is something that came into my life in February this year, which I'm still learning. I'd like to learn some form of hypnotherapy as well. I'm a very visual thinker. I think very cinematic in the brain.
Perfect for hypnotherapy then, mate. Yeah, absolutely perfect. If you can visualize how you want life to be, then you're halfway there for sure.
Yeah. And I think where I was getting to was when I talk about addiction, I used to use the word chaos a lot. I wrote a poem called Bloom from the Abyss, and it talks of chaos of addiction. When the more I look at it, I'm starting to think that it's not the chaos, it's the control aspect. We want to control the emotional output of who we are as people. But when we don't understand what that emotion is and how to control it, we then look for control from the physical world through drink, through addiction.
Yeah.
And I really believe the more I'm learning that now, the more I'm understanding what emotions are. Emotions are the messengers of who we are as individuals, right? So the more I'm learning that, the more I'm understanding it was never about chaos. It was always about control.
I think you're right. I think you're right. When we have this trauma in our head, we can't do anything about it. We can't control it. So we look for things that we can control. And this is why you get addiction. This is why you get eating disorders. This is why you get people self-harming, because that's the one part of the bigger picture that they do actually have control of. And it's another coping mechanism like addiction as well.
Well, I mean, we could talk. I just thought I had a cocaine addiction, right? But my girlfriend last year, so when I tried to take my own life a couple of years ago, I've used the word £1,000 before. I don't know, to be honest, is the answer how much it was, but it was a lot. I sat there for 3 days using cocaine on my own. But what I do every now and then, I'd take a Zoplicone tablet. And then as I was falling to sleep, I'd take more cocaine. And I did that for a long time in the satin alone in the dark. And I nearly died. I was blood coming out of my mouth, out of my ears, out of my nose. And I thought, this is it. I'm going to die. And I genuinely, so like before, right, we say, people like to use the word, some people use the word, it was a choice. Some people don't. Whatever. People can say what they want. I don't really care what other people say. Sometimes, though, I think maybe it was a choice. Well, no, I do. I think the initial part of my addiction was a choice, right? I knew what I was doing. I knew I was taking drugs to drown out the noise of my trauma. And I use the analogy sometimes, you can't jump into the swimming pool and expect to come out dry, right? But what I have realized is I just didn't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just didn't care.
Yeah. I can relate to
I
that
just didn't
strongly.
care.
Yeah.
I just didn't. People say your children, family. I didn't care. And this gives me goosebumps saying this word. So even if I do believe the initial part of my addiction was a choice, but I didn't care. I wasn't bothered because the pain inside me was too much and I couldn't live with the fucking thing. And it's making me emotional because this is the first time I've had this conversation on a podcast about my opinions on what addiction is, right? We've all got different processes, different mind maps of what our addiction is. So the way I look at mine, I believe I did choose, whether that be subconsciously, whatever, I chose, but at the same time, and it's got me emotional, say, I just didn't care. Yeah, it's made me emotional, that, man.
It's fine, mate. Sit with it. Sit with it. This is what we got to do. We've got to sit with these emotions, acknowledge them, and just feel them. Because it's a dangerous, dangerous game for people like you and I to suppress these emotions. They don't come out.
Yeah.
They don't come out some way. They'll come out in a negative way. So sitting with it, verbalizing it, talking to somebody, having a crack with another guy like we're doing now. Got to do it. As uncomfortable as it is.
Thanking it as well. I've been taught to thank the emotion. Thank it when you're walking away from it. Thank it. Do you know what, mate? I think emotional suppression has been something that I've done my whole life, or the majority of it, and that's where the addiction stems from, right? This year has been the hardest year of my life, but it's been the best, and for this reason, right? Having this conversation with somebody I don't even know, and we're being able to connect through something that's negative, but when you mix it together in the teapot, it turns to be positive, right? And this is the beauty. This is why I'm loving what I'm doing. So, anyway, back to you, mate.
you just let off as much as you want, mate. That's my job. Just
yeah. But yeah, so I mean, when we talk trauma, is it Is that something that you'd be willing to share? Is that something that you understand properly now? You've been through your darker days, or is it something you just want to leave where it is?
No, you can't leave it. Well, I can't. I can only talk for myself, but for me, I can't. I can't leave that trauma, because that inner child who had those bad negative experiences was crying out for so much help that I did, as I mentioned earlier, I alluded to it earlier. I didn't know how to fix him. I didn't even know that he was the problem. All I had was noise and pain and alcohol, drugs, whatever it was at the time. Stop that. But when I got sober, I thought everything would be great if I can just stop drinking. And this is what we call destination as well. I used to think if I could just get that big car, I'll be happy. If I could just get that big house, I'll be happy. If I could get that really smart watch that everybody looks at and thinks, oh, he's good, he's got a good watch, look at him, I'll be happy. But it never was. Always get to these destinations and something would be missing constantly. And that, I realised that when I discovered when I got sober, I thought everything was just going to go away. All of a sudden life would be shiny and beautiful. But it wasn't, and it hasn't been. It hasn't been, because I've had to face up to some very difficult questions over the years and go back and revisit those things. And I think they call it shadow work these days, working on the darker parts of your character. It's no joke. It's not easy. It's really, really hard, because you can't bury trauma. You have to relive it. You have to sit with it. You have to re-experience it. You have to look at it from the emotional intelligence that you get, the maturity that you get of coming out the other side of addiction gives you a different perspective on it. I truly believe that work needs to be done. Otherwise, it's going to catch up with you. You can't bury it. You can't.
So I'm creating my own 10-week recovery program at the moment. Start to finish.
Okay.
I'm doing it all. So that, again, the guy who's mentoring me, the work that me and him have done with myself, which has involved the Jungian shadow work, I've got my top 4 shadows that I need to work on, and I'm still doing it, right? The trauma, I'm probably 95%, because as you know, mate, trauma is a physiological sense, isn't it? We hold trauma, right?
Sure,
and so my left hand used to shake. I used to do this. My left hand used to do this a lot. And I'd had that since I was 12 years old. And when I met my girlfriend, she said to me, have you got fucking Parkinson's disease or something?
Okay.
And I didn't know what it was. Don't get me wrong. I was still in active addiction at the time. And I just put it down to the fact that I was probably hungover. I was drinking a cup of tea. It's one of the proudest moments I've ever had, mate, because this proves what I'm doing is working. I was drinking a cup of tea last week, and my missus goes, look at your hand. So I was like, what's the matter? She said, look at your left hand. I said, yeah. She said, it's not shaking. And I was like, fucking hell. It's not. And I mean, it was literally that. It'd be like this all day, every day, shaking. Yeah. And now it's solid. And it just goes to, I've read The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, the book. Loved it. Really loved that book. And through the work that me and John have been doing, I've just, something's feel like a different person. I feel like Lee. I feel as though beautiful. I'm the 37-year-old version of the 12-year-old boy.
That's beautiful. That's exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. And yeah, but people, I put a post out there a couple of weeks ago, because did you do 12 steps by any chance?
I did 12 steps, yeah, and I was in AA for a number of years, probably 4 or 5 years, something like that. And at the time it served me well. It served me really absolutely. Well. I don't have anything bad to say at all.
No,
I take bits from spirituality. I take a little bit from religion. I take a bit from Stoic values. I'm a big fan of the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, all those guys.
Yeah.
I take a bit from AA and other programs, and I kind of chuck it all in and I do what works for me.
Of course. So, and this is the thing, I don't advocate for any in particular program. I met a guy. I met a guy from Scotland I've done a podcast with him. He's a massive AA advocate. Brilliant. If that's what works for him, recovery is recovery. I don't give a fuck how you get there, as long as you stay there. So, where was I going with that there? I've got a bit hyped up like a puppy dog. Why I asked you that question?
You asked about the 12 steps.
So 12 steps. I was speaking to a guy last week, and he said to me, I've dealt with my trauma. So I like to ask difficult questions. So I said, how? And he said, well, 12 steps has cured me of my trauma. Right. Again, so I asked, that's brilliant. How? And he said, by being like being around like-minded people and speaking about it has helped me cure it. I said, well, I don't think you understand what trauma is. Because trauma is a physical thing. It's something that you have to feel, right? Yeah. So what I've learned with 12 steps is it teaches this spirituality and morality, which is beautiful, right? Yeah. But I believe there's a more in-depth piece of work that needs to be added to that 12 steps process. Not taken away, it needs to be added to it for people.
Yeah, I think 12 steps comes in it's very powerful after you come out of addiction and you are looking to make amends and turn your life around and change things around and clear up all the mess that you created. Mm. But it doesn't. You're absolutely right. You could live the most spiritual life in the world and you could be Gandhi and you could be meditating all day. Unless you go back and deal with that trauma that caused you to use or act out or gave you the ism in the first place, it's going to keep coming back. It will keep presenting itself somehow, and if it's not mental pain, it will become physical pain. It talks about your hand shaking there. No question that's trauma. No question about that at all. It can manifest itself physically unless it's dealt with. And I think you're right. The 12-step program is great, but it's not the complete solution. Let's put it like that. It's not the complete solution.
And that's fine, right? And that's fine. Like I say, my recovery is unique to me. Your recovery is unique to you. Everybody's is unique, right? And the one thing that you see a lot of, especially on social media, which is, it's almost like every program, whatever that may be, whether it be Smart Recovery, AA, NA, whatever, they always seem to attack each other and fight each other. Our recovery program's better than this one. And I say, well, you've got to look at it. Do they bring recovery? And they're like, well, yeah. I said, well, does it matter? Who cares? As long as you're in recovery, who cares? And I really don't. But what I like to do is, similar to yourself, I like to look at it. Why the pain? How the pain? Where the pain? This is what I like to look at. I like to address the difficult questions that we need to ask ourselves. And unfortunately, some people aren't ready, not willing, aren't ready to look at those parts of themselves. And I love seeing, again, I'm not a professional, but I've got 20 years of experience of addiction. Right. But I've also done the difficult work where I've not been able to sleep for 3 months, crying in my bed to my missus that I'm just a big child. I'm a big terror. I'm afraid. That was the word. I'm afraid. And I've done that work. And I know, like you said, I know what work needs to be done. Needs to be done, most importantly. We can do as much work on one part of us, we can do it every day. But if we're not doing all the work together, like you said before, we're still missing those pieces, right?
100%, mate. Yeah, it's not something that you dip in and out of. For me, it's a commitment. It's a daily commitment. Best way I can make amends to the people that I hurt. I hurt a lot of people, and sometimes sorry isn't enough, and sometimes a direct amends isn't going to cut it. So certain circumstances, the best way that I can make amends is to make sure that I am the very best version of myself. So, putting that work in, doing the shadow work, doing the hard yards, looking at yourself, properly looking at yourself, not just sort of saying, oh yeah, I can be a little bit selfish occasionally, but having a real good look at your character defects and where they come from, and all those parts of your psyche and personality that are linked to that trauma. It's no joke, it's hard work, and that's why it's called the work. I get people who come in the clinic and say, how long is this going to take? I don't know. I have no idea. Can you give me an idea?
As long as it needs to, right?
Yeah, is it 10 sessions? Is it 12 sessions? How long is it going to take you to fix me? And I have to explain that I'm not going to fix you. You're going to fix yourself. I'm going to facilitate that. I'm going to hold that space for you and ask the right questions. And I'll push you when I need to, and I'll call you out on your bullshit if you're hiding. But you are going to do the work, and you will fix yourself. And that's for how many sessions it takes. One day you'll turn around and say, I'm all right. Thank you, but I'm okay today. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think very, very similar conversation the other day with a friend of mine who's struggling with alcoholism. He's full-blown alcoholic, drinks all day, every day. And we were having the conversation around me helping him. Again, I'm not a professional. I'm not a qualified psychologist, but I really do, Kelly, I really do believe I know what I'm doing. I really do. Yeah. I'm really, really confident in my abilities now, where I've never been confident before, never. So once I've finished this level 7 next year, I'll be an addiction and trauma specialist, I'm going to call myself. And there's a lot of people coaching out there, right, who've done a 3-day qualification online and don't know their head from their arsehole, And
you're right,
I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that. I believe if I'm doing that, I'm doing myself a disjustice, and I'm doing the people that I'm helping a disservice. And I don't feel as though that's the way to be. So I want to ensure that I'm in the best possible position, because this year, I've took this whole year to fix Lee, to fix who I am. And I've given myself a year because I could do it by now. We're coming up to August. I believe I'm 95% there. But I want to give myself the next 3, 4, 5 months to ensure that I'm there. And that's important for me, and that's important for the people that I want to help. But going back to what you said there about how long is this going to take? And he said to me, I'm going to rehab. They're going to detox me, and then when I come out, I want to get on with it. I want to start helping. I want to start helping people. And I was like, hold on, mate.
Yeah, okay.
You think this is easy? This isn't easy, brother. I said, this is going to take a long slog in the mills, 24 hours a day. This is the hardest thing you will ever do in your life. And that's what, obviously, you'll see it a lot more than me with your profession and what you do. It's the hardest thing you will ever fucking do as a human being.
I use the analogy all the time, like getting out of rehab or putting the drugs down. Is when you pass your driving test. You can't drive. You can, but you can't. You need to go out there and you need to sort of learn how to live again, and you need to go and make some mistakes, and you have to almost crash your car a few times. And that's first few months, or particularly first few years with alcoholism, is a time to make mistakes. I truly believe that mistakes are good if you reframe in the right way. Making mistakes is good because it gives you a frame of reference, gives you an experience, and hopefully you learn from those mistakes. And I encourage people to be brave and go out there and do that, and live life. You haven't stopped drinking to be a monk. You haven't stopped doing drugs to be a saint. And enjoy life. Life's beautiful. You've had a fresh start, and that's how I view it as well. I've had a fresh start. Everything now to me is a bonus. I could have died. No question about that, Lee. Numerous times. I was close to it a couple of times. Not taking my own life, but just due to the amount of alcohol that I'd consumed. I was really close to it. And I feel that strongly that now that every day for me is a second, excuse me, every day's a second chance. And I was spared, if you like, or whatever that is, for a reason. I do believe that my purpose, and it's the same for you, I'll come on to that in a second. I do believe that my purpose is to help and serve other people. I've gone through what I've gone through for a reason, so I could probably rebuild my life. And my motivation is to try and help other people either avoid the mistakes that I made or help them as they're coming out of recovery. And I really loved what you said about yourself there. You've got great integrity and humility. I've got to tell you that.
Thank you.
There are loads of guys out there who've done a 6 month course in coaching, and and they're probably earning lots and lots of money, lots more than you and I have learned, but they don't have that integrity. And I'll tell you something else, that 20 years of life experience in addiction that you have is priceless, absolutely priceless. You're not going to get that from a university degree, you're not going to get it from a master's degree, you're not going to get it from any form of education. Just living life as an addict, knowing what it feels like, knowing what it takes to come out of it, do the work, and rebuild your life is absolutely priceless, mate. And what you'll find is, because I get this sense from you, when you're aligned and you're on the right path and you're doing what God, the universe, however you want to call it, intended for you, everything flows. Everything just falls into place for you. And it's a magical, magical feeling. I feel, to a certain extent, that's where I'm at today as well.
So when we talk spirituality, first of all, I believe in, there was a story, I believe in all the religions, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, whatever you want to call it. They've all got their own backstory, and I believe they're all connected. I really do. When it comes to my spirituality, the universe for me, the universe has given me this opportunity, this chance, and I believe I've took it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And I'm fucking getting goosebumps again.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
So when we talk of my values and who I am as an individual, and there is people out there earning money. There is people out there earning good money off helping people. When we talk purpose and we say we want to help others, right? Which my purpose, I've actually got a purpose statement. I've written it at home through some of the work that I did a couple of months ago. Everybody can say, I want to help another person, right? We can all say it.
For sure, yeah.
But until we've done so, okay, I'll ask you this question. You probably have a better answer than mine. If we are not wholehearted, doing it with love, doing it with passion, doing it with a sense of internal, what's the word? I don't want to use that word, internal validation. Doing it for the right reasons, okay? Doing it knowing that we as human beings are in that position where we know we can truly and honestly help that individual without giving a piece of ourselves away, right? Because I see a lot of people who will give pieces of themselves away to help other people. And as well as I do, that isn't self-care, that's self-neglect. Mm. If you're giving pieces of yourself away in the honor of helping another individual, is that help?
That's a big question, isn't it? I think you are helping in a way, but obviously to the detriment of yourself. And this is something we have to be very careful as coaches and therapists as well. The day in the seat with people sharing their innermost thoughts, feelings, and emotions with you is without question, is emotionally and mentally draining, and it can become a traumatic response. In terms of looking after yourself and self-care, and if you're giving bits of yourself, it's a short-term solution, isn't it? Because ultimately, your wheels are going to come off as well. And, we say this to a lot of people. You have to love yourself more than anyone else on this planet, more than your wife, more than your kids. And people don't like it. They don't like it. Oh, no, I love my wife. I love my kids more than me. you don't start looking after yourself, you're gonna come unstuck. So you have to invest in yourself and ensure that you are the very best version of yourself in order to better serve the people that you love. That's the only way it can be, because ultimately, over a period of time, whether it's a man or a woman or whatever, constantly giving, your cup's going to run dry.
My missus, I'm glad you've said that. I say to my missus a lot, because she says to me, I love you more than I love myself, right? And I say to her, no.
Yeah, no.
But she says, it's true. She says, it's true. And I said, no, you need to love yourself more than you love me. And that way we can love each other the right way. And this is going to be the hot topic of conversation this weekend in my house.
Sorry,
when she
mate.
watches this podcast.
Sorry about that. But it's true. I stand by it. I strongly believe it.
I agree. I completely agree. I believe that, in order to love somebody the right way, first of all, we've got to learn how to love ourselves.
It's completely an inside job. It really is. We can generate our own happiness, and when you're happy, life is so much easier. And just go back to what you said about when you were in the height of your addiction, and it was the same for me. I didn't care. I didn't give a fuck. I just remember going to bed going, I don't care if I wake up. I just don't fucking care. I had the most beautiful wife and child, but yet here I was, I couldn't give a fuck because I didn't care about myself. And you could argue that was my trauma, or it was the effect of the substance in my brain, or it's just my psyche, wherever that falls. But I didn't care. And part of getting well is falling in love with yourself again and investing in yourself. And this is a lot of the work I do in the clinic is around this, getting people to understand that they have to invest in themselves first and foremost. Somebody comes in to the clinic, there's 4 areas that whatever they come to me, whether it be, I don't know, childhood trauma, fear of flying, whatever it may be, there's a broad spectrum of things that I treat with the CBT and the hypnotherapy. There's 4 areas that I absolutely insist that they're taking care of, or at least investing in, and that's sleep. That has a huge impact on your mental well-being. Leave the phone outside the room, stop doom scrolling, make sure you're getting 8 hours of sleep. Diet, stop putting shit in your system. What you put in is what you get out. It's like an engine. I will ideally like my clients to cut out all processed food, no sugar whatsoever. The other one is exercise. Regardless of whatever shape you're in, do something. Do something every day. Do some steps, do some bodyweight exercises. But make sure it's progressive so that you can do a little bit more each week. And the other bit, the final part, is personal growth. Making sure that they're getting outside their comfort zone. Making sure that they're doing uncomfortable things that make them feel, because that's where all the growth is. That's where all the goodness is. So if they invest in those 4 areas, regardless of what they've come to see me about, we'll get to the bottom of it very, very quickly. But what those 4 areas do is create self-esteem and self-respect. And it starts the process of them liking themselves again on the way to falling in love with themselves again.
So it's like the snowball effect, right?
100%, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always been in and around gyms, always, my whole life, been very sporty. But again, I don't know whether this is trauma related, possibly. But when I came out of addiction, my back went like really bad because I'm a big fucking old tall bastard. Every time I bent over and my back went, so I had to go to hospital for an MRI scan, and I've got 3. They're not prolapse, they're 3 bulge discs, and for 4 months I couldn't walk properly for 4 months. I was in agony, mate, and it messed with this a lot.
For sure.
But what that did give me like we said before, look at everything from a positive aspect. That is when, after I'd done my back in, that's when I met the people that are in my life now who help me on a daily basis and teach me. That's when I started studying. I didn't know what psychology was last year, mate. I thought that was for geeks in university. Do you know what I mean? But I've got all sorts of books on psychology and NLP and other work that I'm doing now. And so what I did then, I turned it into a positive, and I thought, because at one point I really struggled and there was questions in my brain. Why don't we just have a drink? Why don't we just get on it? Go for a session down the pub. And that was in sort of January, February this year that I was having those thoughts. And it was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm going to use this to my advantage to start growing this properly.
Yeah.
Or start changing this if we talk neuroplasticity. And that's what I did. But what I've done is, some people like this diet, some people don't. I'm probably 80-90% of the time I'm on the carnivore diet. Some people like it, some people don't.
Mate, I'm all over this. I'm probably exactly the same as you. I do carnivore. Steak and eggs is my sort of staple, if you like. A little bit of dairy, but yeah, it works for me, and it's not for everyone. You're sort of flirting with ketosis there, and it is not for everybody, but it really works for me because I'm quite active. I still train. I still bits and bobs of martial arts. I'm in the gym 3 or 4 times a week, and it just works for me. But I will notice if I've had any processed food. I can just feel it and feel it in my system. It's pure poison, and sugar as well is another one. It's yeah. If you can cut that out.
Sorry, mate.
No, go on. As you say, if you can cut that out.
Yeah, I use Manuka honey now instead of sugar. I use Manuka honey a lot. So I've started. So what I'm going to do once a month, I'm going to do a 3-day juicing fast once a month.
Okay.
Just purely 3 days. I done it for a couple of days last week. One thing, I was fucking hungry though, really hungry. But I felt good. One thing I've noticed when I just do the beef, so I'll have beef, eggs, and I might chuck a little bit of spring onion in there just for a bit of a taste now and then.
Cheeky.
Yeah. I said to me, Mrs., if this is the worst part of my life at the moment, complaining about a spring onion with some steak and eggs, we're doing all right.
Yeah, you're doing all right, yeah.
But one thing, because like I said, I've always been a big lad, never been lean, but I've always been big and strong. Took steroids. It's a well-known fact. I took steroids years ago for a long time, but now I do TRT. I do testosterone replacement therapy, and I'll probably have to do that for the rest of my life. But one thing I did when I came out of addiction, I was probably the heaviest I've ever been, and that was close to 25 stone. Okay. Really, really heavy. Just didn't care. Went towards the middle of last year. I just didn't care. Wasn't bothered. Not asked. Yeah. Let myself go massively. I got down to 18.5 stone about 2 years ago, which I look skinny at that weight. And I felt brilliant, but then just couldn't fix this repetitive cycle of what addiction was. Couldn't fix it. And I'd go up and then go down, then go up, then go down.
That's an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
It's what they call the ism, isn't it? So people like you and I say that respectfully, we have that dopamine system. I talk about myself particularly. I don't do anything half-assed. I almost wish I could. I wish I could sometimes. If I'm going to the gym, I'm flat out in the gym. If I'm doing martial, and it served me well in certain areas of my life. I managed to attain quite high grades in certain martial arts and stuff, and purely because I just get obsessed with things. That's just how my brain works. So it's the same. It's the same as well when it comes to eating. But there's another side of that as well, which I call self-sabotage. And for whatever reason, every now and again, when things are going quite well, particularly for an addict, there's this element of us that, again, I'll talk about myself. There's an element where you're not quite used to things going really, really well. You're not quite used to things, everything being, your ducks lined up and everything going great. And that can feel a little bit uncomfortable to people. I've done a lot of work on this, so it doesn't happen to me anymore. But I went through a real phase of this self-sabotage because I was more familiar with being in pain, the pain that came about from fucking up, if you like, almost unable to enjoy when everything was aligned and everything was nice and everything was going well. And I think that, well, I know from my work that affects a lot of people who have been in addiction. And again, that goes back to loving yourself enough not to self-sabotage when things are going really well.
I did the exact same thing when I met my partner who I'm with now. I got divorced 4 years ago, I think it was. And I spent the next 3 years going from relationship to relationship to relationship. Met my girlfriend and I was like, I can't find it. Even though I was the one who was full of faults, right? Everybody's got faults. Couldn't find any with her. And I was like, where's the fault? I can't find any.
Yeah.
And then in the end, I just found myself making excuses to use and drink because I was afraid that this was the nothing's perfect, right? But I was afraid that this was everything that I'd ever asked for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd fuck it up.
Yeah.
Purposely. On purpose. And it was only, she said to me sort of October, November last year, if this carries on, I'm going to leave you. But I don't want to leave. And in the end, I don't know, it was just this thought process, which was like, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
But again, speaking to people like yourself and learning what I've learned, all that was a defense mechanism because every time that I'd opened up my heart in the past to be loved as a human being, I'd been broken down. The two people that were supposed to look after me when I was a child hurt me more than anybody ever. And for the people who were automatically supposed to love you, and I know they loved me, but it didn't feel like they loved me. And that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
And if I could grow up with this thought process, well, your mum and dad are supposed to show you love, and all they did was hurt you physically and mentally over 5 or 6 year period. How else is anybody else in this fucking world going to love me if my mum and dad don't? And that was the question that served as my defense mechanism for 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes back to self-love and self-worth, doesn't it? Am I worthy? Am I worthy of receiving this love that feels strange because I've never felt it before? Well, actually, this feels really uncomfortable, so I'm going to fuck it up. I'll do whatever I can. These aren't conscious decisions. These, for me, it's subconsciously. This is uncomfortable. I'm not used to this. It's different. It's different. And then it would go and sabotage again. I get that completely.
When we talk patterns, right? We've all got patterns in life, whether they're good or bad. We've all got patterns. That was, I believe, a subconscious pattern, a habitually based pattern, similar to my use of addiction. The use of this pattern of fucking things up in my life.
Yeah.
That's what I did, an unconscious pattern where the body and mind would go, fuck this, we don't like this situation. I'm going to fucking ruin everything. And you looking back on it now, I do that unconsciously. I do that without even having that thought process of, I'm going to fuck it up. I just would. I just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And 100%, I agree. It was something that came naturally to me. That's the word. It came naturally. It was easy to fuck things up naturally without even knowing I'm doing it.
So neurologically, it's an ingrained pattern in your brain.
Yeah.
So when you feel like, just quickly explain, I don't want to go into too much detail about it, but when those discomfort levels or stress levels or whatever it is get really, really high and uncomfortable, we don't know what to do. We sit on it and it goes and it goes and it goes. And then it's going to trigger the brain. It's going to trigger this, the fight, flight response.
Yeah.
amygdala goes internal, goes straight to the hippocampus, and in the hippocampus, the part of the brain in the primitive brain, there's a file. There's a file. Because it's a primitive brain, you can't rewrite that file, which is part of the work we do with hypnotherapy. We rewrite that file, but on your own, you can't rewrite that file. So every time the stress levels goes up and fight, flight, or fight is triggered, it goes, fuck, Lee's in trouble. He's really uncomfortable. What do we do? Reason the hippocampus. What did we do last time? We got into self-sabotage and fuck it up. Did it work? Well, it's still alive. Cool. Do that again. And you get stuck in this cycle. And that's what you're talking about.
Well, so I learned about the brain. I've learned the triune brain model in probably March or April. So it's brain stem, limbic system, prefrontal cortex or neocortex. So the way I was taught, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but so when we talk the hippocampus, that is where the emotions of memory is stored. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's a filing system. Yeah. So it's learned behaviors, things that we've used before in order to deal with trauma or a difficult situation. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that brings me on to what you do as in your profession. When we talk hypnotherapy, how do you dissociate and associate to certain emotional states? Because one thing I found is just doing with myself is by dissociating from one emotion and attaching a different emotion to the memories of the past. That has then helped me lessen the effects of the traumatic experience as such. So let's take, for instance, my mum. She used to beat me up quite a lot when I was a kid. And I just want to point out, just in case she does watch this, because she watches a lot of my podcast. I mean this in the nicest way possible. That was the way she knew how to parent.
Of course,
and it could have been me. It could have been me or one of another 1,000 children. That was her parental. That's the way she knew how to do it. So if you're watching, Mum, I'd say this. I don't mean no disrespect by what I'm saying. But for a long, long time, I held a sense of anger, real fucking pain towards what she did to me. But now I understand it was never about me. It was always about her. It was her issues. That there has lessened the emotions attached to the memories of the past for me, which in turn has almost changed that traumatic experience itself. So I guess my question is, how do you go about changing sort of the emotion attached to an event of the past?
Well, it's a big one. Just before I answer that, give myself a bit of time to think. The parenting thing's really interesting because, there's no real sort of guidebook to how you parent. And everyone's just kind of doing the best. And we're all just little babies in grown up skin, grown up bodies.
Yeah.
And generally what happens is you do one or two things. When you start parenting, you either copy the model that was given to you. Okay, so you'll do exactly the same thing. So it could be, and very often there's a generational trauma. So your mom, for example, could have had that type of childhood. I don't know. Or you go the other way and you say, that hasn't worked for me. I'm going to do my utmost and change that pattern. And I'm going to parent in the opposite way. And you just sort of changing that generational parenting trauma, if you like. How do we go about rewiring the brain? This is a tricky one. Let me tell you what trance is, first of all. So trance is it's when the subconscious and the conscious minds come together as one. So people think when they come for a hypnotherapy session, I'm going to get a watch out and put them to sleep and have a common question. You're not going to make me bark like a dog, are you? Two very different things. Hypnotherapy is therapy that uses really deep relaxation and engages the subconscious brain to make a new emotion attached to a particular traumatic event. Trance itself is not complex at all. We go in and out of trance every day, many, many times, and the analogy that I use is you drive to work, you've been driving a motor car in traffic, you've got there safe, but you can't remember getting there because you're in trance. And that's it. It's just a state. It's just a brain state. There's nothing, some people fall asleep. Some people keep their eyes open. They look out the window. It's just deep relaxation. But what happens is, when they go into that state, the subconscious brain, which is responsible for your reality, connects with the conscious brain, your intellectual brain, the one that you and I are in now when we're having this conversation. And when they come together, they've got access to the main cortex. And as you know, that is just this massive library of everything you've ever known, everything you've ever seen, tasted, smelled, whatever. You don't have access to it yourself, but when you go into trance, you do. So essentially, the answer to the question is the subconscious mind does all the work for you. So you mentioned right at the start of the podcast that you're very good at visualizing. So if you can visualize it, okay, using your prefrontal cortex, okay, whatever you want to be. So if you come to me, I use a scaling system. So you want to be really happy. Let's just use something really, really basic. 10 is you're ecstatic, the happiest you've ever been in your life. 0 is you've absolutely had enough. You say, well, I'm a 4 today. So I get you to create a picture of what you would look like if you're a 5. So I've got a magic wand. I wave this magic wand, Lee. You wake up tomorrow morning, you're a 5. What does it look like? What are you doing? What's different between a 4 and a 5? And you might say, well, I'm going downstairs and I've got a little spring in my step. I'm feeling a little bit more happy. I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, look out the window, and it's a nice day. I just feel better. Okay, if you feel better, what you're doing, and we're creating this doing picture. Okay, then we use the trance, deep relaxation. Read you a story, essentially read you a script that I will manipulate to your particular specific needs. You're going to trance, come out of trance. That seed is planted in your subconscious brain. Over the next few days, your subconscious brain will find a way to take Lee from a 4 to a 5. And that's essentially it. This is why I say, if you can picture it, then we can create it within reason.
Yeah. So again, I've done a lot of visual work over the last couple of months. Not so much with the hypnosis aspect of things, but using NLP. And I think NLP and hypnosis are quite loosely connected.
Yeah, very similar. Same mechanism.
I'm certainly not professional. I'm learning. And that's why I want to use NLP in the future and hypnosis together. I'd love to. I just like learning, I'd love to learn it. But to rationalize what I believe, so the way I do it is, as human beings, like you said there, to use the neocortex or the prefrontal cortex part of the brain and then visualize what the question is, how do we get from a 4 to a 5? I strongly believe that as human beings, we have the answers.
100%,
emotion gets in the way. Emotion 100%. Gets in the way. And you hear a lot of people, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. When the reality is, if somebody was to ask them, how do I do this? Even it could be the same thing. They'd probably answer it for them. But because they have emotional attachment to it, we're always good at giving advice. We're not very good at taking it. You know what I mean?
I will sit there all day and tell people what to do and then come home and just do exactly the opposite every day, actually. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Because what you said there is that everyone has the answers anyway. It's just my job, our job, however you look at it, is to hold that space and then give them the opportunity to find that answer. Because it's already in there. 100% it's already in there. People know.
What would you say the most fulfilling part of your job is?
It's a good question, and the best part of my job is when I say goodbye to a client. That is the best part of my job, and it's mixed emotions because, it's impossible not to form a bond with people that you're connecting with on a very deep level. It really is. But when you get to that end of that journey, and we agree together that they're in a really good place and they've got the tools, techniques, and strategies to go and live life and really grab it by the balls and enjoy life, and they go, it's a sad thing, but it also gives me a lot of satisfaction as well. It's not a great business model, I've got to tell you.
Well, I mean,
it's not like a chiropractor where you keep coming back.
Yeah. It depends how you look at it. If it depends what your business model is, right? If it's a high success rate, then it's a brilliant business model. If it's something that you want,
yeah. On that business model, I'll just tell you this is a really interesting point. I think when I first qualified, I set the business up so it was specifically for guys like you and I, who middle-aged guys. You're obviously a lot younger than me. Middle-aged guys, you kind of lost the way a little bit, and I had it all set up. I would do some CBT and trance therapy with them. I would do some physical martial arts training. I'd do some mindset coaching, and on paper it looked brilliant. I couldn't get any clients. Couldn't get things off the ground. For the first 6 months, it was touch and go. And then I just had to diversify. I just had to say, okay, well, I'll treat anybody that comes to me, sort of thing. And it's pretty tragic, really, that demographic is still, there's still some kind of reluctance and taboo about them surrendering and handing over and saying, do you know what, I'm not coping very well. I think I need to get some help, because it's getting better. Don't get me wrong, it's getting much better. People are investing in themselves more and more, but there's still that kind of thing with blokes who see it as almost like a bit of a weakness to hold the hand up and say, I'm not doing very well here, I need to get some help. And the thing that's kind of been drummed into people of that generation is that, I hate this phrase, man up, sort yourself out, push on, you'll get through it, suck it up. All these phrases, they don't sit well with me at all, because I lived that for a long time myself. And I thought I could man up through addiction. I thought I could suck it up through addiction. I thought I could, push on through, but I can't. And it makes me quite sad that is still happening. And that, what I felt was a really positive, good, useful business model, just fell by the wayside. And maybe I'll revisit it in a couple of years down the line, we'll see. But certainly at the moment, there just isn't that. I don't want to say appetite. I know there's a lot of people struggling, but there isn't that surrender. I think, guys are finding it very difficult to be vulnerable. That's it, vulnerable. That's the word, isn't it? To make themselves vulnerable.
So vulnerability is something I speak about a lot. People see it as weakness, but I see vulnerability as strength in abundance. That's what I see vulnerability as.
I agree. I agree, mate.
You're somebody who goes to the gym. I'm around a lot of big boys who all juiced up to the gills, taking gear, thinking that they're big men, and really deep down, a lot of them are broken children still.
That's right.
I'm known now in the local community as somebody, if people want to have conversation with, and I'll speak to anybody, right? And you see it in the gym, and you'll speak to somebody, and they'll say, I'm really struggling with this, or X, Y, and Z, whatever it may be. And then I'll say to them, when was the last time you cried? And they're like, fuck that, fucking out, fucking cried. That's, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Why? Tell me why you can't cry. Yeah. Tell me why you can't have that cry on your own. And they're like, well, it's in this. And it's because you don't want to be in touch with your emotions. You don't want to feel it because it makes you sad. And people, man up is the worst fucking word ever created.
Hate it.
So North Wales, or last year, I don't know about this year. So last year, North Wales had one of the highest trauma rates for suicide in the UK.
Really?
Yeah, and I know a fair few people that took their own lives over the last 2 years. Again, I've mentioned this before. I won't name names. Very old school man, member of the local community. He was in Borstal as a child. Spent a lot of time in Borstal. So, I mean, we've all seen the documentaries. We've all seen the films, right? We know what happened there.
Yeah.
Struggled his whole life. with mental health, didn't really speak about it because he was from the old school generation. Went to hospital Christmas Eve, really struggling. He said, I'm really, really struggling mentally. They give him a fucking phone number and sent him home. The day after, he went home and he put a knife through his own throat, killed himself. And it's because of these words. Words are powerful, right? Man up.
Hugely
That word
powerful,
can
mate.
fucking, it can ruin somebody's life. That word man up that can send somebody to the brink of their own fucking hell in their mind. And people don't understand this. People don't like, so I've had it, you know, it leads us on to martial arts. You're a martial artist, right? I can have a scrap. I can throw hands when I need to.
Turn it, switch it on.
Yeah, I can have a go if I need to, but I don't. I don't believe it's necessary. I never have, but I know I can. I've been around boxing gyms and done a bit of Muay Thai and a bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So when people say man up, so I say, well, what does that mean? There was a guy who was in our men's community a couple of years ago, and he said men should be lean and have abs and this and the proper Spartan warrior look. And I said, well, I haven't got abs. Does that make me a man, not a man? And he was like, well, you know, you got to man up and get on with it. I said, well, I'd batter you. Just because I haven't got abs doesn't mean me take somebody. And that might be a bad analogy, right? But you get what I'm saying. Just because you don't look a certain way, does that mean you're less of a man? No, of course it doesn't. We all come in different shapes and sizes with mindsets and whatever. To be vulnerable, to show that emotion is the most powerful aspect you can have as a man in this world.
I strongly agree, mate. And I've been saying this for a long time. Real courage, true courage, isn't about being in a boxing gym.
Exactly.
That leads into martial arts, but true courage, for me, as a bloke, is holding your hands up and saying, I'm struggling. I can't manage my life. My life has become unmanageable. It's out of control. I need somebody to step in and help me. And what stops people doing that? Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, it's ingrained in the culture of the people of a certain age. But the other thing is, it's this raging fucking ego. It's just pure ego, isn't it? Like, I can't handle my business. I can't tell anyone. I'll be so embarrassed. I'll look weak, or, you know, I'm really ashamed that I'm struggling. It's quite the opposite. It's absolutely the opposite for me. And anybody that comes to see me, we start off with huge levels of respect. Even the first email, I always say to them, you know, well done. That's the hard part over. Let's get you in and let's start working together. And I just ask, all I ask for is honesty, brutal, painful honesty, and a commitment to move forward each session. Not always possible, but as long as that is the intention, then it's generally going to go okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, fucking man, I'm guilty of it myself, mate. I've done it. You know, I went to rehab in 2017, and that wasn't my last drink, and I'll talk openly about it. Came out of rehab, you know, we went into lockdown, and I found that extremely difficult, really, really difficult. Yeah. Just recently, when I came out of rehab I'll share this with you because it's important. When I came out of rehab the first time, they gave me a diagnosis of bipolar. Didn't really ever feel that I had that. For sure, had at times periods of uncontrollable behaviour, but I believe that was the alcoholic stupor. That was the madness of the addiction. Certainly got the low times as well. But anyway, long story short, just recently I got diagnosed with ADHD, which is ADHD and autism. And it's very similar. It's quite common that you get this misdiagnosis because on the one hand, you've got the ADHD brain, which is fucking dopamine. I want excitement. I need noise. I need this. I need that. I need attention. And he's prone to addiction. Then you've got the autism side who just wants everything within the rules. doesn't like noise, doesn't like chaos, doesn't like anything. He's not very good socially. All of a sudden, I was like, everything. I'm not trying to play down the addiction, because I made all those decisions. Okay, I was the one that went to the shop and bought the drink. All of a sudden, everything made sense, and this explains what happened to me in lockdown. And I'll be really clear on this. I'm not making any excuses, but I just got completely overwhelmed. And I now know that's a symptom of the ADHD. There's so much fear in the media. We're doing homeschooling with a 5-year-old at the time, which was extremely stressful. And I just said, I can't cope. I absolutely can't cope. And nobody told me to man up, but I felt I had to man up. And I felt I had to man up through, rather than seeking help. And it cost me everything. That drink in lockdown cost me everything. My family, the love of my life, my soulmate. Give me a sec. So I know how dangerous these phrases are, because I've lived it. I've lived through that, trying to man up, and the wheels came off again, and I took a drink and I lost everything. And I really fucked up. So I get it. And lesson learned. All I can take from my experience is to turn it round, learn from that experience, and try and make amends where I can.
Yeah,
it's a fucking evil disease, mate. And this is where I go back to right at the start. I will always be an addict, and I respect your opinion. I respect other people's opinion, but I've lived through a time where I couldn't cope, and I didn't speak out, and I manned up, but I didn't. I was just a twat, and I reached for a drink again, and it cost me everything. So, yeah, I know how dangerous that thinking is. Not asking for help.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing that with me, mate. When you said there, it's not an excuse, I like to resort back to something that Gabor Mate said. It's not about the here and the now. We have to look at the lives. So when you mentioned ADHD, you mentioned bipolar. What I'm finding, a lot of more people I speak to in addiction, there's other disorders attached, whether that be ADHD or whether it be bipolar. I know I've probably got a bit of ADHD in me, a bit of PTSD. I know this, but one thing I'm enjoying at the moment is experiencing all these new things. And I think, again, this is just my way of thinking, but I don't need a diagnosis at the moment. Maybe in the future I'll need an answer from a diagnosis. But at the moment, I'm enjoying all these mad, new, quirky little parts of the mind that I'm experiencing,
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant, mate.
I think we went through a very similar COVID, me and you.
Yeah. Okay.
I went through full Britney Spears mode in 2020.
Yeah. Okay.
My granddad, my granddad, who was my hero, right? This man he was the giant of giants to me. He was a big, strong man who knew how to love his grandchildren, and it just, don't get me wrong, the man wasn't perfect. To me, he was. Yeah. To me, he was fucking King Kong, Yeah. And he died in December the 26th, 2019. I then separated from the children's mum in January 2020. So about 4 or 5 weeks after that, she left. Yeah. Pure, 99% of it was down to my addiction. Simple as. And I'm man enough to own that now. I then went on a stag do to Benidorm in January, February, April, I think it was. And we got there and they put us in lockdown, day one of COVID. So I was in lockdown in Benidorm when COVID first hit the scene. Weirdest 3 days I've ever experienced. They locked us in a hotel room for 3 days. Me and 4 or 5 other guys, and all we did was just drink and take drugs for 4 days solid. Yeah. Literally no food. Yeah. And I remember looking over, I was having this conversation today, actually. I remember looking over the balcony into Benidorm and buildings on fire, buildings being smashed up. The military police were out. I was like, and I just had 2 Zoplicone tablets as well. And I was like, where am I? It felt very apocalyptic. And then I came home in the marital home that I still lived in. The kids and my ex-wife moved out. And it was like prison because there was pictures everywhere and it was just memories of things that had been. And looking at the children's bedrooms when they're not in them, it was fucking hell. It's hell. Yeah, and I spent the next 3 months on my own, barely seen a soul, and all I did was drink and take drugs for 3 months solid on my own in that house. And it's the worst 3 months I've ever experienced in my whole entire life. Yeah. And I've been through some difficult times since then, but those 3 months of being all alone and drinking, don't get me wrong, I'd have friends come round now and then, but sitting at your kitchen table at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning is not a nice place to be, and it was horrible. But what I will say is, through the work that I've done, and you'll be similar, this is the best version of Lee here today. This is the best version I've ever been.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that, mate. That is beautiful. Good for you. I feel similar. I feel similar. Yeah. I think that's what I said to you earlier. When you're doing the right thing, and you're working towards what you kind of supposed to be. And I believe that I was, without being cocky or arrogant, I don't mean it that way at all. I was kind of born to do the job that I'm doing now, in some way or another, whether it be CBT or the hypnotherapy. I just feel that it's just aligned. This is where I'm at, and I get the impression strongly that you're about to do something absolutely epic with your life. I really do.
Feels it, mate. Feels it.
I feel it as well. Yeah.
Martial arts, mate. Let's do the last 10 minutes on martial arts. So, Krav Maga, I think I've seen you're highly skilled in Krav Maga. Is that right?
Yeah, it's fair to say. Yeah, I'm a Krav Maga global expert, so that's kind of the equivalent of black belt. I was studying it it took me 11, 12 years to get my black belt. It's a military system, so it's not a sports system. It's a lot of the stuff that they do has military applications, and it's designed to really, really hurt people in hand-to-hand combat. And when I did my couple of belts and then the black belt, I had to go to Israel to do it. At the time, it was, I had to say, it was a relatively peaceful time in Israel, and it was a beautiful country and a really good experience. But they absolutely destroyed us for 9 days. It was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. I never want to do that again. People ask me, are you going to go back? No, I've done it. I've completed it, mate. I've got my black belt, and I am never going there ever again. It was absolutely hideous. I've got a couple. Go on, sorry.
I've seen, so there used to be a Krav Maga gym probably 10 miles from us in North Wales. Can't remember the guy's name.
Okay.
But yeah, a few of my friends went and they enjoyed it because, again, it's based on, I think it was created by the Israeli Special Forces, wasn't
it? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, guy. Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of the sort of disarming knives and weapons and stuff like that. It's a lot of weaponized structure to it. Looks cool, right, man. Yeah. It looks good. It looks really damaging. Cool. Looks damaging.
I've done a few of the bits and bobs over the years, and I remember my very first session. I went to Krav, and I just thought, bloody hell, this is it. This is it. And I fell in love with it immediately. And it's so simple. It looks really complicated, but the whole system's built on your natural reactions. So, for example, if there's something coming towards your face, you're going to do this with both hands, and they turn that into, they take that natural reaction, they turn it into a technique. And the whole, so one of the main principles behind the system is that you defend and you attack at the same time. It is all or nothing. It is shit or bust, basically. And it's a bit naughty as well. It's really naughty. It's like gouging eyes, Adam's apples, throats, groins. They're obsessed with the groins. Everything's to the groin. breaking knees. Just it's naughty, but I love it. I really, really love it.
I seen a video of a guy. Again, he was a Krav Maga specialist. He gets his thumb, whacks this guy in the windpipe.
Yeah.
Right round the windpipe, and you think, fucking hell.
Yeah.
And he says, you know, you can get in the windpipe and rip it out.
You can, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Obviously, you know, when we're training, it has to be a bit tempered. You can't do the things that you're supposed to do, and you know, the guys have to wear quite a bit of body armor in order to train at it. So it's reality-based training, if you like. You know what I mean? There's no katas with it. It is just do as much damage, get in, do as much damage as you can in order to get out. Yeah. If you ever come down this way, mate, come and see us. Come to the gym. I think you'll really enjoy it. What did you say? You're 6'6", did you say?
Yeah.
Get yourself down here.
Why? So everybody could use me as a dummy to kick fuck out of me?
No. I think you love it. A big guy like you with those skills would be something to behold, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to say I've got a few good friends of mine have been really good level amateur boxers, a couple of Welsh champions, British champions.
Okay.
They've got a couple of friends who've done Muay Thai. I've done Kung Fu and karate when I was a little boy.
Yeah.
I've messed about with jiu-jitsu. I like to mess around with things. I've not really found the thing that I love yet. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
I love boxing. Boxing's very, very close to my heart as far as just boxing in general. Love it.
Yeah.
Sugar Ray,
same for me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Sugar Ray Robinson, my favorite fighter of all time. But I was going to try judo next, see how I like judo, because again, I'm still yet to find that one martial art where I want to go all the way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. You've got plenty of time. You know, you don't have to do the. You know, well, I'll tell you what's really popular at the moment: Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I think it comes down from people like Joe Rogan and that. It's something that you can do as you get a little bit older, because you still got a bit of flexibility and strength about you, but something that you can do right through until you eventually stop playing, if you like. That's a good one. Judo's a bit heavy on the body. You'll be good at that if you're with your frame, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so my daughter does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now. I was doing it for a couple of months last year.
Yeah.
And then my back went. That's my excuse anyway. My back fucked up, so I stopped. But yeah, she still goes a couple of times a week. My friend, a lad I play golf with, Charlie McDonald, he's 4th in the world now, a second dan black belt.
I know Charlie McDonald. Well, I don't know it. Well, this is correct. I know Monica. I know his girlfriend Monica.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So she's
done a bit of Krav Maga.
Yeah, that's how I know her from. Like, I've done gradings where she was a student and stuff, and it's quite a small community, the Krav Maga, and you sort of meet people and that. But I don't know Charlie, but I'm friends with her on social media, and I know from back in the day. And he's a top man, isn't he? He's European champion.
Yeah, he's just won the Asian Open. He won the Dubai World Championships last year, I think it was. Oh, okay. He comes second in the Pan Americas. He's won, Irish, Welsh, British, multiple times. The lad, he's like 5'6", 5'7". He's a fucking tank. Like, he's solid, man.
Isn't it funny? There's to talk about 6 degrees of separation. You will know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. Like you and I have only known each other for about a month, and yet there's that connection through martial arts, through addiction. Beautiful. And I think they sit really well together. Which is what I was talking about earlier. That ism, that thing where you get into it. And when you find the one for you, Lee, I'm sure you'll be off. You'll just be off. You'll be completely committed to it, because they sit together really well. They really do.
That word, you've mentioned that word a few times. I've never heard anybody explain it that way. And every time you say it, you just said it then, there's like this buzzing in the back of my mind, like, explore this word a little bit more. That's what it's saying to me. Like, I need to explore the ism. I understand what you're saying. I think I want to explore the concept of the way you've communicated that a little bit more. I like it. It's interesting.
Well, I took that from the 12-step program. So the ism is that thing where you just can't seem to do it in moderation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just there.
Yeah.
There's no halfway house with it. I think if you have a look at it, you'll be like, "Oh, I've got that." Yeah, you've got to. Yeah. You must have. No question. I'm sure of it.
So, yeah, I'm very much one of them people. If I do something, I'll do it balls to the wall. 100%.
And that's it. That's the ism, I think. That's my understanding of it anyway.
I play golf. I quit golf for a while last year because, again, I fell back into active addiction. But as soon as I started playing golf again, I had to make sure I had all the best kit, all the best stuff, just because I want to be the best at golf. I'm a good golfer. I play golf to a decent standard, but it's the same with everything. When I started the podcast, you can see that's the studio.
It looks great. So, I've been following you since you started moving into the studio. I've been watching the progress. Fantastic, mate. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. But it's a case of I can't do anything half-assed. It's got to all be right. The right cameras, the right microphones, the right lighting, the right pictures. And, people come here and they're like, fucking hell, this is impressive.
Yeah.
But I can't do something. If I want to do it, I've got to do it my way, properly.
Yeah. That's it. You just described it. That's it. That's the ism. That's my understanding of it anyway. You've got it, mate.
Yeah. I like it. I like that word. I've never heard it before, and I like it. It just, it's self-explanatory, really, isn't it?
But it's a positive thing as well. Whilst it can lead you to addiction, it can lead you to dark places. It can lead you to light, and it can lead you to growth, and you can harness it and use it to go to beautiful places as well. And again, it's reframing your belief system. If you believe something, your beliefs create thoughts create feelings, etc., etc.
Yeah.
If you believe it's a good thing, then it's going to be a good thing for you.
Listen, mate, I'm just a bit conscious of time because I've got to get back to my daughter. And
of course, mate.
I'd love to do this face to face one day, mate. I'd love for you to come here and sit here when we can get some more time in a different time and place, and it'd be good. I've enjoyed this conversation. I've took a lot from it. And I've got one more question before we go. Okay. And that is, if you could sit round a dinner table with 4 people from the past, it could be family, friends, heroes, idols, whatever, alive, not alive. If you could sit with 4 people around the dinner table, who would it be?
Mate, you can't spring that on me right at the end. What a question!
I get that same reaction every time. Everyone's like, "You could have asked me at the beginning of the podcast about it," but no, I like it. I like the, 4 people. The first 4 people that spring to your mind are usually the ones that are going to sit around there anyway.
Oh, crikey! Well, I think this is. I'm going to struggle to answer this, but there are a couple of people in my life that passed away, my nan and my granddad, and I just like to not get their approval, but just sort of let them know that I'm okay, I'm all right. I'm sure they've been with me through this whole journey anyway, but I do feel that they're about the place with me a lot. Who else? Let's go back to boxing. I'll sit down with my favourite boxer. Old stone hands, I think, for me. Roberto Duran. I loved him. Do you know why? Because he just bounced forward, and he would take one to get one, and that's kind of like my thinking around combat. And he just keep going forward. He wasn't the most technical out of those 4 kings, but watching them back, he's the one that I got the most. You give me the goosebumps, you know what I mean? And I suppose for the 4th one, go on, mate. Sorry,
it was his coach? Did Angelo Dundee coach him for a bit?
I can't. I should know this.
Because I remember if you watch the film where De Niro, I'm sure it's Angelo Dundee. I'm sure it is. De Niro plays him in the film, and I like that between rounds, if Duran had took a few smacks, he would comb his hair. He'd comb his hair between rounds, and everybody used to say, "What? Why are you combing his hair?" Yeah. And he'd say, because he'd come out looking beautiful for the next round.
He was a
and I love that.
Man. Yeah. For a boxer, I suppose I should try and think of somebody intelligent for the fourth one, shouldn't I? So everyone thinks I'm smart, but I'm struggling a little bit. It's a difficult one. I suppose I should say someone spiritual, someone that could teach me how to be, how to live, how to ensure that I'm at peace with the world. And it's probably a bit of a cliche, but I'm just thinking how these people would get on, how my nan would get on with Gandhi. She sat there smoking a fag and having a glass of whiskey, and Gandhi's there in his robe. But fuck it, I'll say that just to bring those minds, just as a melting pot, to bring those minds together, if you like.
Yeah, nice.
Next time, it's been, let's do it. Let's do it together next time, and I'll come up with a better answer than that.
I'll ask you a different question next time. Listen, mate, I really do appreciate your time, and I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, me too.
Last thing I'll say is, has anybody have you ever watched Hannibal, the series?
No, who's that?
You remind me of the guy who plays Hannibal, the actor, famous actor.
It's not Mads Mikkelsen, is it? Is it Mads Mikkelsen? Yeah. I get that. Yeah, I get that all the time. Yeah.
You look like, it's not a bad thing.
He's a very handsome gentleman, mate. Brilliant. Listen, mate, thanks for having me on. I've absolutely loved your company. It's been great.
And I've enjoyed it, mate.
Yeah, cool.
100%.